Hello and welcome to episode number 5 of the Sports Wilderness. I'm Wandering Moses. Thanks for listening. We have a whole slew of NFL playoff games to talk about this weekend. And as I was discussing with some people over the past week, these couple of weeks here at the beginning of the playoffs are probably by far the best that the NFL has to offer. And of course, if you know my positions on the NFL itself, that's about as close as a compliment that they're going to get from me. But anyway, we have 4 games this weekend in what is being dubbed as quote-unquote rematch weekend, which I guess it's good for the purposes of trying to sell it to the public, but at the same time, it's like, whatever. So you have going about 4:30 this afternoon, you have the red-hot defensive pummeling Baltimore Ravens making a visit to the number 1 seed in the AFC, the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee actually won the first time around this season. It's an ugly 13-10 game. And I could very well see that result occurring again. But for whatever reason, Baltimore's defense has peaked at the right time, and with no one's playing better than Ed Reed right now, the Tennessee run game will have to carry the bulk, because if Kerry Collins and company have to go to the air too frequently, they are certainly going to lose the game, because then the Ravens defense will be looking to launch their missiles, so to speak. So I have Baltimore in this game, and I'm sure that this game is pretty much being split down the middle. You have those who are not quite true believers yet in Baltimore, and likewise those who are still believe in the strength of the number 1 seed and having the bye and so on. But having been an Eagles fan, and the Eagles going 3 straight years with a first-round bye, it can be a blessing and a curse. You have that extra week to prepare, but you're also rusty, your timing's a little off, and a team that's been on fire may actually have an advantage in certain ways there. Baltimore may be looking to press that kind of advantage and look to see Tennessee be a little rusty early. That may be enough for Baltimore to impose its will. So I'm looking at Baltimore to win probably about 20-13 or so today. In the second game we have tonight, it is the Arizona Cardinals visiting the Carolina Panthers. And nobody is giving the Cardinals a chance whatsoever. I believe the Panthers are favored by 10 points or so. And it's looking like the weather is going to be a little cold, and we've heard the statistics about Arizona being 0-5 coming to the East Coast and so on. But this is the playoffs. And you have a seasoned quarterback. Yes, he may not have his top weapons, but they also played Carolina very well the last time. It was 27-23, although Arizona was winning by a couple of touchdowns until they self-destructed. But I certainly don't think that Arizona is going to lose by 10. I do think Carolina wins the game on the basis of Arizona not being able to stop the double-pronged rushing attack. Thank God we don't have any stupid nicknames for that. And every time you have a combo, it's like, ooh, thunder and lightning. Or in the case of the Giants, earth, wind, and fire. No, why don't we just call them 2 good running backs? So I believe Carolina wins in a quasi-shootout fashion. I'm going to say 31-28. And that 28 will be more toward the end. Arizona's trying to catch up. Carolina will have had a lead, but Arizona will try to mount a furious rally at the end. All right, moving on to Sunday's game, I want to start with the latter game because, as you know, my bias has come through, and therefore I have to keep the Eagles for last. We have here the San Diego Chargers coming off their upset of Indianapolis, coming to Pittsburgh, also coming off a bye week, also coming off of Ben Roethlisberger's concussion. But the Chargers are on the roll right now, having won 4 straight to end the season, having beaten Indy in the first round. They could beat Pittsburgh. They could. This is probably the biggest pick'em of all because we don't know. We just don't know what it's going to be like for Roethlisberger. We don't know, how he's going to handle the first shot he takes from the San Diego line. Whether he will just get back up or will he start walking around like a dizzy man, not knowing where the hell he is. Now, on the flip side, it is LaDainian Tomlinson is not going to play. It is true he has a torn tendon in his groin. Youch. But Darren Sproles obviously picked up the slack in a great fashion last week against Indy. I applaud him for that, although I was getting kind of annoyed by all of the announcers, including return yards and the total yards, from scrimmage. Keep it from scrimmage. I know 328 is a nice number, but let's just stick to the rushing and receiving. Return yards can be such a skewed statistic, especially if you end up handling a lot of kickoffs, in which you have a lot more room to work with than you would on a punt. So, just based on my gut, I think Pittsburgh wins in an ugly, ugly fashion. I can see, since they're supposed to get snow, although they're playing tomorrow, but we know Heinz Field becomes a bunch of pudding very quickly. So I say Steelers 16, San Diego 13. And that brings us to what in my family is the main event, Philadelphia Eagles at the New York Giants. Giants are favored by 4, which means in any real, if it were at a neutral site, they'd be favored by 1 point, getting the 3 for being the home team in a playoff game. All of these so-called experts are going with the Giants. Apparently, the rationale is that they've learned from the last game, and that they're essentially saying that Philly winning in Minnesota was just a flash in the pan. I don't see it, and this is why. I believe the Eagles, for whatever reason, have become more and more efficient against the run. And without having that deep threat, the Giants are going to be relying much more on the run. And at that point, the Eagles will be stacking the box and daring them to throw over the top. And as we saw in the last game about a month ago, they were not successful at all. Donovan is clearly playing with a chip on his shoulder. He's done very well since his benching. Whether or not that has had any effect, only he can answer that. Brian Westbrook is the eternal Giant torturer. Every time he plays them, something happens. We saw it happen last time. Going all the way back to when he returned that punt in 2003, which sparked the Eagles' long winning streak that season. Anything can happen. And I do believe with the weather, it's going to be very cold, it's going to be windy, that we are looking at old-style, ugly NFC East football game here. So I say it's the Eagles 21 and the Giants 17. Crucify me if you will. That's my gut feeling. We'll see what happens. Alright, this has been the latest episode of the Sports Wilderness. We thank you for having you here to listen. We will see you later, and have a good one.